Well, there are certainly songs that haven't been released that were inspired by America. I guess, you know, songs like Perfect Symmetry have a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. But that's, I guess Perfect Symmetry is my attempt at talking about the kind of sort of self-righteous hypocrisy that is, you know, is rife in Britain, and I think it very much in America as well. You know, obviously that's a massive generalisation, but there's a sort of culturally or as a society, do you feel that there's sometimes that Britain and America share this sort of very kind of pious view of ourselves, where we seem to sort of tacitly think that we're better than everyone else, and you know, we're basically pretty much right about everything, and that everyone else in the world should, you know, look, you know, see how we do things and learn from it, but at the same time, you know, we have some utterly kind of shameful, institutionalised approaches to humanity and you know, the way we do things. So yeah, so I think that's something that I don't know. I hate to kind of, obviously I don't feel that about American, you know, people as a whole, but it's something in our societies, I think, that I've definitely felt more and more, you know, in the last few years, probably, and that's probably inspired by travelling around a bit.
Makes sense. This is from Laurie L in Argentina, who asks what the best present you got from a Keane fan is.
Well, I think my personal favourite is a little box thing. I'm going to go and get it in a minute because it's next door. Okay. But it's one of those Mexican, I don't know, I'm sure they have a specific name which I don't know, but it's like a little display cabinet, and this one is it has a little sort of model of each of us in it playing instruments, and they're very small. It's very kind of what would we say? I guess, you know, it's quite gaudy in appearance, if that's not too you know, I don't mean that as an insult, but it's also very macabre. And there's this venue, I think it's at the National Arena, I think, in Mexico City, which has a whole kind of wall of this stuff, massive display of this very kind of macabre, very bright, colourful, kind of glitzy models and, you know, decorations, and you see them all over the place. I'm sure they have. It's obviously some sort of traditional thing, but it's they're amazing. I'm going to go get it right now.
Okay. Hold the fort, everyone.
I've always wanted to say that how much I love it. I've never had a chance. There you go. Actually, a bit of time lapse there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That's way cool. Let's zoom in on it.
You can see we've all got our sort of Perfect Symmetry tour gear on.
That's great.
And we've got sort of Death's head, skulls for heads. But I love that.
And that was just given to you by a fan after a gig?
Yeah, I'm sorry to say I can't even remember who gave it to us, but it's brilliant. I absolutely love it.
Simple Heart Girl in Chicago says the first gig she ever went to as a teenager was Rick Astley, and asks what the first concert you went to, how old you were, and did it change your life?
The first proper gig I went to was U2 at Wembley Stadium, which is a nice small one to start with. But we didn't have a venue near us when we were growing up. I guess Brighton was relatively close, but London was nearly as close. So so you kind of had to go up there. And I remember it just wasn't one of those things that was kind of part of growing up for me at all. And I remember being on holiday in France with Richard, and had a copy of Vox magazine when that used to exist, and it had this great review of Zooropa in it, and a review of the Zoo TV tour, and I was like, I've got to go and see that. And anyways, we managed to get tickets and go and see it. It was amazing.
Yeah,
it's still the best concert tour I think there's ever been.
Yeah. This question is from Hussond, quite a deep one. Who says, while your songs sometimes express a cynical view of religion/faith, they also suggest a longing for something beyond the physical realm. Would you say you believe that people have souls, or in the existence of a spiritual world?
That is a deep question, isn't it? Yeah. How long have we got? Yeah, where to start? I guess I believe in what I believe in is human beings, basically, and I think the human heart and mind are amazing, amazing things that sort of can do such amazingly sort of powerful things, do so much good and do so much evil, and so much in between. I don't really feel a need to look, to try and conjure something up beyond that. But I have so much interest in people and so much belief in people that I guess the idea, that to me is not a limiting thing. I don't think, isn't it depressing that if we're just people and we just live for our sort of 70 years and then rot in the ground or whatever. I think that's an amazing miracle in its own right. What I'm cynical about is, I think, hard to argue with, which is, like a song like Perfect Symmetry is, people seem to sometimes take as being a sort of a negative song about religion, whereas really it's about people using religion to enable them to do harm to other people, which is undeniably very, relatively common. It depends what you call very common, but it's something that's happened repeatedly over and over again for hundreds of years, probably thousands of years. To me, I don't see how anyone can say that that's a good thing. It doesn't mean that anyone who's religious is bad, but I think all religions, I think, were founded on the basis of goodness and love and belief in doing good things, while you're on this planet, and the fact that they're sometimes perverted to enable people to achieve other means which are far from good is obviously, but to me, it's certainly a terrible thing.
This next question is from Gabs, who says that sad news to learn that the Crypt in Hastings is closing down for good after 30 years as a music venue, and asks if you have any memories of Keane's early gigs. I think you played 2 gigs there in 2000.
I think we did, yeah. I didn't know it was closing. That is sad. My main recollection of it is it being very empty when we were there. I can certainly remember my mum being there and Tom's mum being there, but it was, I think both of our gigs there would have been pretty sparsely attended, although I might be blending two into one.
I think you got a review from The Fly in one of
Did we? Oh, that's good.
one of the earliest Keane live reviews. On the website, somebody's uploaded it to the website.
Wow.
And I think you played with Spearmint at one of them. Remember Spearmint?
Oh. Did they have that song about an astronaut?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Anyway, yeah, I remember the whole room was, because it was in a cellar, obviously. It was there were these sort of pillars everywhere, so you couldn't really kind of ever quite get comfortable on stage, and half the audience couldn't see the band, although that wasn't really a problem when we played there because there were only about 5 people actually there. But yeah, it was it's really sad that, because I think you know, those kind of local venues are often the best ones. Like even now, I much prefer going to see bands either in a really small venue, which you know, it's not always easy, or going to see them in London. I mean, or you know, going to see them at a smaller venue outside of London. Because sometimes bands who are playing quite big places in London will still play pretty small places sort of out in the provinces. So it's, you know, I quite happily, I remember driving to Bath to see Coldplay many years ago, sometime between their first and second albums, and you know, it took like 5 hours to get there and 5 hours to get back or something. But Tom and I went over there, and it's, you know, I'd rather do that than go and see a band in Wembley Arena or whatever, because it's an adventure and you get that much closer to the band, and those places have so much more character, I think. So yeah, it's a shame.